Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We appreciate you tagging along for the program today. We'll have JC momentarily on this Wednesday edition, and we'll have Zach Goodall from 24/7 Sports give us Billy Napier spoke, I guess, a couple of days ago to the media. He'll give us a little breakdown of all the transfer portal guys, how they're going to fit in for the Gators and this, that, and the other, whatever you want to talk about with Zach. He covers the Gators for 24/7 Sports. Gators tonight will be up in Columbia, South Carolina, facing the Gamecocks. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hello. It's too bad. We had Houston got shut down. Our viewers and we have viewers in Pensacola, sending me pictures today or this morning of his front yard. And let me just share this with the masses. This is Pensacola, Florida. That is a palm tree, and it is white like it's in Buffalo. Did you know they had palm trees in Buffalo, QB? And there you go. There is another yard.
Yeah.
So somehow Gainesville, Florida, was just on the bottom of this this winter storm Enzo, and we missed it by about 20 miles, 30 miles. And so no snow for us, but we get freezing rain.
JC, would you have gone outside and played in the snow today?
I would have done snow angels.
Why?
I would have done snow angels with the YMCA song going on.
But why would you go play in the snow?
Because
you've never seen snow before?
Well, I have, but very rarely, QB.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've seen snow, but not in this town. I went to Denver. I've been to Philadelphia. I've been to places where it snows, certainly, but not in this town. I would have run around on that fairway with all those majestic hills we have on number 10. And I would have
slid down them.
On a piece of
there's a lot of stumps in those majestic hills.
Either way, in any event, we did have some basketball last night, and as the days go by, Alabama once again scores 103 points this time, only 103. Tennessee beats Mississippi State at home. Tennessee wins their home games, and then Texas gets a win against Missouri. That game was a 2-point game going into the last 3 minutes, and Texas pulled out and won by 8. So a big win for Texas. Missouri on the road loses. They only get 53 points. And tonight, the Gators try to keep South Carolina winless in the SEC. I think that's a good bet tonight. I like Florida, and I like them big. The spread is 10. You want to pick SEC games tonight, QB?
We can do whatever you want to do, JC, because we do have to do our Peachland Dental golf picks because the golf tournament starts today. It's a Wednesday through Saturday due to the championship games. Were you aware of this, JC? They're playing Torrey Pines this week.
Yeah.
In a few weeks, they're going to be back at Torrey Pines because that's where they're playing that Genesis.
Well, they can't play in LA. LA is
but I mean, pick a different course.
Well, right. Yeah, I hear you. That's really funny that they picked those two courses or that one course to play two different tournaments. Maybe that was just the easy.
I think it's because they're being lazy and they know the grandstands are already going to be set up. They won't take them down. So whatever. But we'll pick those here momentarily. But as you said last night, Texas with the win. Alabama. I was flipping around the channels. I saw a little bit of the Alabama game. Vanderbilt cut that game late to like 8-point game. Who is the Vanderbilt coach? Where did he come from, JC? You got any idea?
Yes.
This isn't a trivia question because I don't know. I'm asking.
Well,
you don't know either. You're looking at
No. I do know who he was, and the problem is that it's freaking 8 o'clock, and God forbid we start the show 3 minutes afterwards.
What does that have to do with you knowing who the Vanderbilt coach is? It has nothing to do with it. You don't know who you're looking at. I could have looked him up.
I do know, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. I will tell you before we get out of here.
Okay. You know, there's a basketball program that's in trouble are the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Yeah, they're bad, and they've lost some games this year that is inconceivable for them. They've lost on their home court. They've lost on neutral site courts. They don't have the players that Hubert Davis. Look, dude, NIL is basically telling us in the world that the margin between this level and this level is getting closer. And Ohio State spent $30 million to win a national championship or somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's pretty much where it's going. And
here's the thing.
And Nick Saban said yesterday, he said, listen, this is unsustainable. We're not going to have competitive college sports if you've got one team spending $50 million and one team not spending anything, and them trying to compete against each other is not sustainable. There will be some sort of collective bargaining. I truly believe there will be. There has to be.
JC, do you want to do a homework assignment? Here, we've already got it for you. Mark Byington, he came from James Madison, their coach.
Okay.
But the money they spent at Ohio State, it was to retain majority of their players. They were already signed from high school.
Right.
They only had two dudes that were new on their offense, George.
They're a senior-laden team.
The quarterback and one of their running backs from Ole Miss that shared time. Yeah. So, honestly, and then they got the Downs kid from Alabama defense. Yeah. They spent money on the players that they recruited to come to Ohio State.
And to their credit, those kids stayed through their senior year. Why would they leave, QB? They wouldn't get the money in the NFL that they were getting at Ohio State.
I'm not. I'm just saying that it's not like they went out and bought their team through the portal like people. I think people, when they say that $20 or $30 million, whatever the dollar amount is, they think they went and chose this left tackle, this quarterback. They didn't.
There's going to be a lot of guys leaving that roster. A lot of players are not going to be on that team next year. And yet, in spite of that, they will be ranked in the top 3, 4, or 5 at the beginning of the year.
Okay, a lot of people on here are saying it did snow in Gainesville.
Okay, maybe. I'm looking on number 10 at the International Golf Course, and there's
Hawkstone International.
Hawkstone International's got ice and water. But listen, either way, it's too bad, man. I was hoping for some snow so I could do my snow angels celebration.
Sure everybody was excited to see that. But yeah, hopefully everybody from New Orleans through the Panhandle
it's nuts.
Is doing okay.
Houston, Texas, city of 4.5 million people, completely shut down. Not one car on the highways in Houston, Texas.
Well, I believe New Orleans is shut down too.
Totally shut down. But Houston's 5 times bigger than New Orleans, and there was not a car on the roads yesterday. It's incredible. I think the state of Florida owns 3 snowplows, 3 in the entire state. So,
Josh in Mississippi on the Gulf Coast here on the Titan More text line says they got over 6 inches of snow yesterday and woke up to 7-degree temps.
Isn't that something? Isn't that great? I mean, obviously, global warming. Better not go there. I'll make somebody mad. But yeah, it's incredible. It's called January. And yeah, okay, I get it. It's a little chilly this time, but I can recall plenty of Januaries here in the last couple of years where we were sitting in 65, 70-degree weather, QB. You know that. You remember, right? Yeah. 60, 70-degree weather in January has been pretty common in the last couple of years. So, I'll take a 7. Listen, just think of all the bugs that crawl around in your house that are dying. Isn't that great? You're freezing them out, man. You're freezing them out. The squirrels are not crawling on your screen. They're not eating through your shingles. It's a wonderful thing. We need 7 degrees for a couple of weeks to clear them out. Let's clear out the trees. Clear them out, baby. Get them out.
On the Titan More text line from Jimmy. He says, what are y'all's thoughts on the Bears hiring Ben Johnson, and who in the world are the Cowboys going to hire?
Dion.
Well, Brian Schottenheimer, Shotty got a interview.
Yeah, that won't move the needle. They want Dion.
I don't know how that's going to go, but
it's called Jerry calling up his good friend Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders saying, "Sure, I'll do it, man. But I need control." And this is where Jerry has problems. He doesn't. He wants to micromanage that football team, and to their detriment, I believe.
Yeah. I think Ben Johnson's a good fit in Chicago.
Yeah, he'll help Caleb Williams because there is no more. We can't say now that there won't be a guy that knows offense running that offense, and hopefully the Bears will get off the mat because they've been on.
Bears are going to be good on offense. I'm telling
I
you, man,
think
they got
so.
great skill guys.
I think you're
Big
right.
skills.
I think you're right. I mean, Keenan Allen can play with all of them. He's a great wide receiver. You got Devondre Swift behind
They
you.
got the fresh the rookie from Washington, one of those wide receivers.
Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
Rome Odunze.
Yeah, and then they also have another. Don't they have one of those Ohio State wide receivers kind of bounced around the league for a long time? So anyway, I think they got great guy. DJ Moore. I think he's an Ohio State guy.
DJ Moore. That's right. DJ Moore played at Carolina. That's correct.
Yeah. So
I mean,
I don't give a damn who the Cowboys hire. They're not going to be any good.
This is Pascagoula, Mississippi. That dude right there is doing Snow Angels in Pascagoula. That is the front step of Pascagoula, Mississippi, Goshen, Mississippi. Excuse me, Goshen, home of.
You talking about the high school?
Goshen,
The Gators.
The Gators.
That school wasn't there when I was there. Okay. Those athletes were playing for us, thank God.
Man, you'd be shocked at how nice that football little facility is and how clean the bathrooms are.
All the facilities in the state of Mississippi are outstanding.
They look great, man. I think
they blow any
folks down here on
facility in the state of Florida away. That's what's sad.
I guess that's where I was going with that. But yeah. So the Gators are going to get out of here, go up into the snowy confines of Columbia, South Carolina tonight. 10.5-point favorites. Will Richard was a little questionable going into this game, but Will Richard should play. I think he's good to go. The Gators are a team with a real chance this year, and I'm covered. We're covering the 10.5. Great, remember, great teams cover.
Right, that's a lot on the road. That
is a lot.
Yeah,
that's probably too big.
I'm not sure. A couple of people asked on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, did the Gators have any travel issues? Not that I'm aware of. They flew out yesterday. I mean,
they're out.
The weather was fine here. They just flew straight to Columbia. They'll be fine. Reggie says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mello, videos of people driving airboats on snow is hilarious. The people in Louisiana, I saw some videos of them. Oh, you got to love the Cajuns.
I do love
their airboats, and
I love the Cajuns. Yeah,
pulling dudes on freaking skis on the roads.
That's great.
That's great. That's good stuff. All right, JC. Real quick before we get to our picks, let's talk briefly, and we'll talk more about it on Friday. But the AFC and the NFC championship games. Speaking of that, before we get into that, this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Puts the star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. 2017, JC, the NFC and the AFC championship games. Blowouts. Both of them were blowouts. Maybe they shouldn't have been in the tournament. They were both blowouts. The Patriots beat the Steelers 31-16.
That's a blowout.
Excuse me, 36-16.
Yeah, that's a blowout.
And the Falcons beat the Packers 44-21.
Dan Quinn. And
that was the Super Bowl where the Falcons just blew the huge lead.
28-3. 28-3. You kick a field goal, go up by 11, and Belichick's done. There's 3 minutes left to go in the game. They would have had to recover an onside kick. That would not have happened. The Atlanta Falcons franchise would have been changed forever. And Dan Quinn, for all we know, would still be in Atlanta. However, he's in Washington. He's thrilled to be there, and he's got the quarterback of the future. And the greatest hope for a football team in the NFL to this day is Jaden Daniels. He is one of the top 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. This guy, forget about the rookie stuff. He's played an entire.
He's played 18 games or whatever.
He is as good under heat as anybody I've seen. The weather in Philadelphia this weekend, 40 degrees. There won't be a lot of slushy snow. It's all going to melt away and go away. They'll clear it out. It is not going to be a factor weather-wise. I love that because I want to see what that team's capable of. I feel like as a LA Rams fan, the Rams kind of got snookered there with the weather, and that's just the way.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up because I saw some clips of people. I can't even remember who they were because I don't read the whole article or listen to the video. The whole. Let's take the Rams Philly game last week. I know that these people that say this is football weather. That's the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard. Okay. It takes away from the talent.
It does.
From the athlete. Think about it.
Yeah, that's why they don't play the Super Bowl in this crap.
Right. So I personally am leaning towards especially the NFL.
Yeah,
I mean, getting home field advantage is such a big deal,
it is.
but it's not fair when you think about this. Let's use Philly and let's use the Rams. Okay?
Yeah.
The Rams have zero way to prepare
Right.
as a football player for that weather. You have no way of reenacting a blizzard. Whereas Philly, the weather in LA is what it is. You don't have to prepare for it, right? Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it does. And this is why the Big Ten has been so happy to have an SEC team playing cold weather during the playoffs. But the weather effects that you said affected the way they gripped the ball, affected the way they threw the ball,
but
affected the way they cut.
I don't care about the just cold, but whenever it's like sleeting and snowing and your wide receivers can't run their routes correctly.
No, right, yeah, no.
I don't know. I think it's stupid.
It sucks. But
this I think about it.
The NFL QB has been dealing with issues like cold weather, and they embrace it. Remember the Ice Bowl, Green Bay and Dallas. How can you prepare for 40 below zero? You can't prepare for that. Neither. But the thing is the Super Bowl is played in a warm weather climate.
Except the one time they had it in New York, which was stupid.
What they had in MetLife with Seattle and Denver. I'm sorry, Seattle and New England, I think it was. Or was it Denver and Seattle? It was one of those. I think the Seahawks.
It was Denver, I remember.
Okay, it's Denver. Denver, Seattle, and the Seahawks won the Super Bowl that year. And Percy Harvin had a touchdown. But QB, the Rams, I just feel like, man, if you had gotten that team, the Eagles, and played them without all those elements, I think the Rams would have won. But that would have, should have, could have. The Eagles are moving on. But the Commanders, I think, and the Eagles will not have a weather issue this weekend. And I think the Eagles are vulnerable. I think they're beatable. They play great defense, but their quarterback, I think, struggles sometimes when he has to read defenses and not run. And I think the Commanders have the best quarterback on the field. And usually the team with the best quarterback, when everything else is somewhat equal, I like the team with a better quarterback. And then to me, it's Jaden Daniels. There is no question to me. And Terry McLaurin is catching everything.
Ohio State wide receiver, by the way.
Well, yeah, isn't that a shock?
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Daryl says maybe it will snow the rest of the week, so I will get some more days off.
QB, I heard you say yesterday you thought Jeremiah Smith was the best you've ever seen. You do remember Devontae Smith won the Heisman Trophy.
I don't care.
You don't care. Okay.
I do not care. Because Jeremiah Smith has the entire – look, I love Devontae Smith. I thought he was a phenomenal player. He still is. But he's a little dude, right?
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith is like 225, 6'4". He reminds me of a version of Calvin Johnson and Andre Johnson.
Oh.
Remember those two?
Oh, yeah. Two Hall of Famers.
I think he's better than both of them.
Wow, okay. Well,
yeah, I think he's the best I've ever seen.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. You can say that. I mean, he's only played.
And I don't think they use him enough.
Yeah,
I would have thrown the ball to him a minimum of 12 times.
Where was he when they played Michigan? Where was he?
They didn't call any plays his way. But Mark wants to know who has the advantage in snow, offense or defense. The offense technically, and it's the same way with rain. They always say at least the wide receivers know where you're going, and the DBs can slip and slide and all that. But it just, I don't know. I don't know what made me think about that.
Well, I thought about it too. I thought about it too. It was a shame you didn't get to see the Rams.
I mean, Matt Stafford's one of the best throwers to ever play in the National Football League, and they took that was gone. But then people say, well, the Rams should have won more games, and they'd be hosting at home. So I get it. All right, JC, let's get to our Peachland Dental. Let's get our golf picks here. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry of Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. Go visit them at peachlanddental.com. This week we are at Torrey Pines, a tremendous golf course in San Diego.
Yeah.
Well,
which, by the way, is undergoing
Farmers Insurance Open.
You saw there's some brush fire activity in San Diego now.
No.
That whole state is just.
Well, a lot of guys have pulled out of this because they didn't want to play Torrey Pines twice. I mean, if you saw the silliness last night on TV again, those guys are not playing in the tournament. Did you watch any of that, JC?
No, I can't say that I did. I watched tennis, though. I liked watching Australian.
Yeah. Ben Shelton moves on, right?
Ben Shelton beats the Italian, and Ben Shelton is every tournament, it seems like every major, he gets closer and closer. He's going to win a major one of these days. He's so young and he's so powerful. His serve's 144-mile-an-hour serve. You can't handle that. Nobody can hit that. And I was very surprised Djokovic beat Alcaraz, but Djokovic wins the Australian Open in the same manner that Nadal used to win the French Open. There's just something about that place that you play better. Now, the French Open's played on clay. Nadal is the greatest clay player to ever have lived. Djokovic, you could say, may be him and Federer the greatest hardcourt players to ever live, but Federer is retired, and Djokovic is still winning tournaments at age 37 or 38. If you think about tennis, go play somebody in competitive tennis in a singles match format where you don't have a partner. It exhausts you. It is so exhausting. It is one of the best ways to exercise other than, anything else that you might do, because you're using your hands and your eyes and you're running around and you're stopping and starting. You're doing so many drills really while you're trying to hit a silly little ball and you're trying to hit it accurately. It is very hard to play singles tennis. And these guys do it because they are in superior shape. Obviously, they're professionals, best in the world. I don't know if it's more rare being one of the best golfers in the world or if it's more rare being one of the top 100 tennis players in the world, because it's a worldly global thing. And you think of these numbers, and that when you think of golf, the top 125 play on tour, on the best tour in the world. That is, by the way, the PGA, not the LIV. And then you've got tennis, and you think of the top 100 some odd players in tennis. You're talking about out of a world of what, 4 billion people, 5 billion, 6, I don't know. That's why they make the money they make. So in golf this weekend, QB, we were nowhere near it. Even though I said I wanted to pull the trigger on Sepp Struck, I never did. So,
well, I get first pick. You picked first last week.
Okay, then you fire away.
So this is another one of those kind of weird tournaments because they play on multiple courses.
Yeah.
Because Torrey Pines has more than one course there.
North
I'm going to go
south.
out. My first pick, we're going to have 4 golfers, JC. I'm picking Ludwig Oberg.
You love that dude from Sweden. Is it Sweden? Yeah.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Torrey Pines is north and south. It's a public course, by the way. You can play that course, and it's either north or south. I don't know which one is considered the better of the two, but they're both really cool to play. San Diego, North San Diego. I'm going to take Justin Rose over there in Torrey Pines.
All right. The Englishman. I will go with a Canadian, Taylor Pendrith.
Ooh. Okay, I'm writing this down so you don't yell at me for not doing my job, QB. You very, very,
do your job.
Very, very strict as Coach QB. All right, so this is a lineup with a lot of international flavor here, and like you said, a lot of guys are playing this thing. Can't really blame them. I mean, why go and play the same course twice? I guess I don't know. This is
or they were more worried about their TGL event.
Their TGL. That's right.
Jesus.
Give me Max Homa. I like his game out there in California. Max Homa.
All right, I want Aaron Rye.
Rye? Okay. Yeah, he's the Britishman, the Englishman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to look at as I look at this lineup, man. These names all kind of just blend together. All these players, it's almost like they're the same guy to me. I don't see anything standing out and really screaming, "Yeah, take me! This is the tournament I'm going to break through and win and keep my card for the next 2 years." I'll take Maverick McNeely.
Mav.
Yeah, the McNeely man.
All right, my last pick. I don't know if he's in here or not. I'm trying to find him.
Okay. Harry Higgs?
Sahith Theegala in this tournament?
Yes, he is.
All right, I want Sahith.
Yeah, that's a good pick, and that was going to be my fit. How did you know I was going to pick?
How about this, JC? I did not pick one South Korean.
Well, that is strange. I don't know what's gotten into you. Maybe it must be the cold weather, QB, because that doesn't make any sense. I don't think Keegan Bradley can win. He is the Ryder Cup champion, but I think he's going to play well, and he may give us a top 5, top 10 finish type thing. So give me Keegan Bradley out there at Torrey Pines. He's played it a million times. He may get hot. All
right, so to recap the Peachland Dental Farmers Insurance Open picks.
Yes.
I have Ludwig Oberg, Taylor Pendrith, Aaron Rye, and Sahith Theegala. Corn Dog has Justin Rose, Max Homa, Maverick McNeely, and Keegan Bradley.
And I really like Shane Lowry as well in this tournament. But you know, if we finish in the top 5, top 10, we've done our job. We picked winners in this though. Last year we picked something like, between the two of us, you picked something like 5 winners and I picked 3. You know, we picked something like 8 winners out of all of the tournaments last year. We would have made a lot of money if we'd be on the Hard Rock Sports Betting.
QC Connects for long-lasting relief, no surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Connects. A few more minutes with JC, and then we'll have Zach Goodall from 24/7 Sports get your Gator recruiting Goodall questions, offensive coordinator questions, defensive coordinator questions. Get all your questions ready.
He's going to give us the same answer that you've given us that I've given.
Well, I think Billy, I think in I know the media boys had a little sit down with Billy.
Yeah.
What is today? Maybe Monday.
Okay.
I think Billy said they're not hiring an offensive coordinator.
Whoa,
Bill, I was not there. We'll let Zach let us know. But
again, nobody who runs the team whose specialty is this is going to hand that down unless he has to.
Do you think? Let me ask you a question, JC.
Flawed to begin with.
For all the people in Chicago that are chiming in and watching the program today on all the different platforms out there, do you think Ben Johnson's going to call the plays or give it to somebody else? I'm just asking.
Why Lane Kiffin and why all these guys who have great offensive minds let someone else call plays is the strangest thing to me. But no, I don't.
Lane calls the plays. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, probably. But I mean,
I know for a fact he calls.
Well, you know, when Levy was there, I think he was the guy calling plays. But
maybe they're chiming in like most assistants do.
Just think about this logically. If what you do, if the best that you do is to do something, why would you hand it off to another guy unless you were literally told you had to save your job? It's not going to happen. There is not going to be an offensive coordinator on 3, on 4, on 5. Whoever it is that talks to us does not need to tell us what we already know. It is already in stone. Billy Napier is your offensive coordinator. Billy Napier is going to call plays. DJ Lagway is going to be your quarterback. And the Gators, by one guy on CBS Sports, was picked to win the national title. His name was Hunt. I can't remember his first name. Dude on CBS Sports Line says Lagway is going to have the year of years and the Florida Gators. And I said, well, dude, have you seen what he's got around him? Who's going to catch the footballs? Well, who are our wide receivers? These are the things that need to be answered. But this guy says Florida's going to win.
Well, we have some really talented wideouts now.
We'll see.
They're as talented as Ohio State.
No, they're not.
Real quick,
we'll see.
Chris says Billy doesn't have a great offensive mind though. Not much feel for any in-game situation. Look, I get it, people. I get it, and I try to tell people, okay. Was Chip Kelly that innovated the other night? I'm just asking.
No, and Chip Kelly
he called one out of the box play where they took Jeremiah Smith at the snap of the ball. He looked like he was running reverse. He put his foot in the ground and they threw a swing pass to him and he walked into the end zone. That is the only creative play he called. I thought he called a terrible game, quite honestly, because they didn't throw the ball enough. Because Notre Dame had zero chance of covering Ohio State's wide receivers playing man coverage, and they didn't throw it enough. So Michael says, considering the breakout freshman year Jeremiah Smith had, do you think Napier's offense, he would have been underutilized? I don't think he would have been targeted as much as he was. I don't think he was targeted enough at Ohio State.
Where was he?
You can't compare what he did there to here, and if he was in this system.
They were running Chip Kelly out of town at the end of November. They wanted him out of there so quickly they couldn't see straight. But that Michigan loss was the best thing that happened at Ohio State. It was the best thing that happened because it forced them to get their crap together. And somebody put a sticker on my Ohio hat. So, look, Ohio is a great state. It's a conservative red state level. So, Ohio.
All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll see you on Friday, JC.
Hey, baby.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back, talk a little Gator football and some other sports with Zach Goodall, 24/7 Sports. You're watching and listening. PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Bishop's Pitmaster Barbecue, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila, Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Cogent Bank, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Unleash the Inferno.
Naysayers, setbacks, injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. There are many car washes in Gainesville, but only one Gallo Car Wash, locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes, with locations on Northwest 13th Street, Southwest Williston Road, and a new one coming to Jonesville. Go check them out, Gallo Car Wash. We're going to go back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we are joined by Zach Goodall from 24/7 Sports, covers the Gators, with our good friend Graham Hall. How you doing, my man?
Doing great, Shane. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, real quick, I just got a text from Paul in Pensacola. He says, it's so cold in Pensacola, I had to break my dog off the fire hydrant this morning. It's pretty fun. All right, Zach. So I just mentioned to our listeners that I thought Billy had a sit down with all the media boys, but that's not true. He had a sit down with just you and Graham Hall. Tell us how that went.
Yeah, you did. We caught up with him on Friday. I believe this was, and granted, this was my second day back covering Florida, so I could be out of the loop here, but I think it was his first availability that he's had since the Gasparilla Bowl. We talked to him for about 30 minutes on Friday at his office. Had a lot of topics to go over, some where fans were pleased with some news and I think not pleased with some other news, but we were able to get confirmation on things like offensive play calling and coordination system remaining the same, the search for a co-defensive coordinator in the front office expansion that they're doing, and a lot of breakdowns on some of these new players, whether it's the transfers that have committed in the past few weeks, Dallas Wilson, who was a late signee, and some other topics that we've been breaking over down at Swamp 247.
Yeah. Before we get to the offensive portion, I'm an offensive guy. I don't have a problem with Billy calling plays. I know it's not explosive like most people want, but there's not a whole lot of guys around the country that are explosive. I get worried about our defense. I know we played better towards the end. I still don't think we're very good on defense. Do you think they do hire another co-defensive coordinator? Ron Roberts, is he going to be back? What is the status with all the coaching staff? Because we heard there were going to be changes. I don't know if they're going to be changes now. Then I also heard that somebody said that all the coaches signed new deals. What's true and what's not?
I get the feeling that really nothing's going to change aside from this co-defensive coordinator role. My take is that that probably gets filled, and whether or not that person coaches a position, I guess remains to be seen, right? Because technically all the defensive position coaching spots are filled. So Austin Armstrong, I know he had influence over the safety room, but Will Harris has the secondary. So what does this person really do? Kind of still up in the air, and maybe that's a part of why Billy Napier is not necessarily rushing to fill that spot. With the other assistants that are on expiring deals, Rob Sale, Jabbar Jalouk, Billy Gonzalez, and Mike Peterson, they're all going to come back. it had started to trickle out. Billy Gonzalez and Jabbar Jaloop getting new deals, and when we brought that up with Billy, he honestly kind of laughed and he said, "I think that everyone would kind of be surprised as to how this operates. Deals like that were done a while ago, and they're planning on keeping the gang together. And for the offensive play calling and coordination system aspect of that, I think that bleeds into exactly what his philosophy is there, that he wants to maintain a consistent system for all the players that are still learning it, but obviously, especially DJ Lagway. They don't want to drastically change the approach to what they've been teaching him, how they've been developing him, entering what will be his first full season as a starter. And part of that is, maintaining the position coaches who are sharing the same message to their spots too. So from what Billy Napier said, obviously these contracts still have to, I think, be signed and then released to the media as they do. But I expect all of these position coaches that were on expiring deals to be back in 2025.
Yeah, I think people don't realize too, if they were to hire a new offensive coordinator, the terminology and all that stuff is going to change. And DJ Lagway apparently is very comfortable. I mean, I thought he played really well as a true freshman in a very difficult league. But you don't want him having to learn other new things. And, Ryan O'Hara, who's done a really good job, who's technically the quarterback coach. I mean, I don't think people understand all the moving parts that happen when a new offensive coordinator comes in. Having said all that, the GM portion of this thing, because that's kind of where college football is going. They do plan to hire one, correct? And if so, when do you think that happens?
I get the feeling that it's still not a rushed process, but I could see at least one, if not, and I believe they're going to hire multiple people into this front office role and split up what we might think say an NFL general manager's responsibilities would be into several parts. And I could see at least one of those hires coming before the coordinator. Not a guarantee that that is the case, but from what Billy Napier was saying, I got the feeling that that was the priority. And I think that's reasonable. In the event that Ron Roberts maintains play calling and is back as the technical primary defensive coordinator, then that makes replacing Austin Armstrong, who again, without technically having a position to oversee, it just makes it less important compared to at this time. They lost Mark Robinson before last season and have had to kind of split those responsibilities up among who they have in house. I'm sure they would like to have those spots filled right now for as we get this 2026 recruiting class underway, and obviously the spring portal period that'll be coming up. They'll want to have those filled out, and I would think they'll probably want to have those filled out even before the settlement gets approved in April too. So I would think that that'll happen soon.
Andy's question for you on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. He says, Zach, loved your article on the 13 Gators that left the program this winter. Do you think we will miss any of them?
That's a great question. I mean, when you look at their career production to date, I don't see a ton of players that they're going to miss badly, right? When you look at it as Jakeem Jackson being the number one signee in their 2023 recruiting class and the potential that he might have had there, especially after missing most of last season due to injury. Sure, yeah, I think that there's a chance that a player like Jakeem Jackson might be missed, especially this spring as they deal with injuries at cornerback. You can say the same thing about other similarly highly rated players as recruits. That is, Kelby Collins and TJ Searcy did make an impact while they were with Florida, although maybe they didn't live up to the expectations that were set. I think especially Kelby Collins after a position change. It was a really flashy, promising freshman year. I thought that he was just not able to build upon for whatever reason that might be. So with the potential of these players, maybe Kelby working out at Alabama, Jakeem Jackson maybe working out at LSU. In hindsight, we definitely could look back and say, oh, one that got away. But again, based on what they actually did in their time with Florida, and some of those players like Jackson and Collins and Searcy had 2 years, they didn't necessarily make a superstar name for themselves either. They didn't demand a starting or significant role in the first team, I think, at this point in their careers. So I really, I guess, could go either way on it.
Yeah, and again, just because a guy goes and has 6 or 7 sacks at another school doesn't mean we're missing him. I mean,
Right.
you never understand, like, Princely's a very good player, but he took plays off here. Nobody, I mean, the eye in the sky does not lie. The film does not lie. At Ole Miss, he had All-Americans with him that made him have a great year. So wish them all well, but just if they go and do something great doesn't mean we're going to miss those guys. Talk a little bit about the guys that we've added in the portal. What does the UCLA wide receiver bring to the table?
Yeah, and this is where I've got to check back in with the PR staff. Is it J. Michael or Jamichael? But one way or another, I know that he obviously has some production from his career and maybe hasn't lived up to the consistent expectations to have built upon that. But sometimes these receivers need a fresh start. And to give Billy Napier and his staff credit, they've done a pretty good job at giving receivers from the portal fresh starts and getting really some of the best production of their careers out of it. We saw that with two players last year, saw it with Ricky Pearsall for 2 years, the 2 years before. And with Jamichael or J. Michael, and I really hope I'm not making him mad. You've got size at over 6'2". I think that he's a speedy player. And just his experience in general. I think Billy Gonzalez has taken players that have a lot of playing time, found their strengths, and been able to, to utilize them. And I think that that could be what's in store for Jamichael here.
Mike in Texas on Facebook Live brought to you by Malone says, Shane, you said Daniels was generational. They said that about RG3, but him into injuries. Should they quit running Daniels so much? I think Daniels runs a lot on his own. I think what I've seen from Jaden Daniels through his years at LSU and his rookie year, he's smart. He's a smart runner like Lamar Jackson. I think he's a clearly better thrower than RG3 ever was. But I do think Jaden Daniels is a generational guy. Speaking of the wide receivers, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from James. He says, a lot of people say Billy Gonzalez is a great wide receiver coach, and I do agree, but it seems like all the kids that we have recruited have never panned out. The last few great receivers that we've had have come from the portal.
I mean, I don't see that as unfair, at least from Billy Gonzalez's more recent stretch here with Florida. He's gotten more production out of the receivers from the portal than out of high school. Is that a bad thing? I mean, I think wide receiver has got to be one of the most consistently available players or positions, I should say, in the portal. And I think the hit rate there beyond Florida tends to be pretty good. And that I think just comes from the availability and everyone wanting to be a wide receiver these days. So yeah, I mean, this class in particular, I think that the bar has to be raised with the level of prospects that they brought in, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, in particular. I think that those players can be pretty special, and if they're not, then I think that adds credence to the concern. But yeah, I view it differently than, say, the offensive line, right? I think it's still probably the most important position to hit on from high school recruiting, while also being the most difficult. Because going and trying to get an offensive lineman in the portal is just, I mean, you won't find a more expensive position other than quarterback, most likely. And even still, trying to transition from one team to another as an offensive lineman, picking up a new scheme, that's also incredibly difficult. That is, I mean, any of the five spots, they're some of the toughest positions to play in football, and it's not an easy transition. So for me, that's one where you would want to see more success in recruiting and developing compared to receiver. I seriously, I think any year you could go and pick one out of the portal, and your odds of getting a productive player are stronger than most other spots.
Yeah. In your conversation with Billy, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I can't remember because there's so many damn rules. Does the portal open back up in the spring, or did they cancel that?
I think technically it's still going to open in the spring or scheduled to open in the spring, but I know that there had been the report came out that they were looking into potentially getting away from it. I don't think that's been finalized. So as of now, I'm at least planning on there being one in the spring.
So right now, what we have, the roster that is working out and in school right now, that's what we probably will have going into the fall.
Right. I think that there are technically still a couple of vacancies among the 85 scholarships that the SEC is still holding on to for this year, but they're few and far between. We had talked to Billy the other day about adding want to say it was defensive line help, maybe. And he had said that that was one of, I believe, a couple positions where they would, still consider looking. But I thought this quote was funny, and I might be paraphrasing because I don't have it right in front of me. But he literally said, as long as it doesn't cost a fortune, which, I mean, true. I get it. But yeah, that's kind of their approach is I think they're still looking for players that meet the value needs financially as well as filling a need on the roster.
Yeah, Tim on Facebook Live, I have no idea what he's talking about. He says, transferred out, don't compare their play on a new team. Players coming in, compare their play on their old team. Don't know what that means. Look, a lot of our transfers that have come in, nobody knew about them, obviously, and they've been diamonds in the rough. I mean, we got guys coming from Northern Illinois and some of these schools that have played well. So you never know how they're going to pan out. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. A few more minutes with Zach Goodall from 24/7 Sports. Text on the Titan MR text line. This is from Joshua. He wants to know, Zach, you just said earlier that you're back covering the Gators. Where were you before?
I spent the last year covering the Jaguars. I guess to give a brief rundown, I was with Sports Illustrated covering Florida from 2019 through halfway. No, I got the whole spring camp last year. And there were just some changes going on in the company. I had decided to look elsewhere and landed on my feet in Jacksonville. That's where I'm from. I grew up a Jags fan, so it was cool to spend a season covering my hometown team. But I'm excited to be back here. It was something that was in the works for a little bit, and I'm very fortunate to be working alongside Graham and Blake, especially who I've gotten to know from my previous stint here. It should be a good time, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. This text here on the Titan MR text line from Ricky. He said, I saw on somewhere on Twitter that a lot of the early top 25 for next year that had the Gators around 14 or 15. Where would you put them? And do you agree with Texas being the #1 team in America? I
Seems
think
like
it
a
probably
lot of
depends
hype.
on what publication. I don't know what publication had that. I don't know where Ricky saw that. I did see somewhere where Texas was the favorite to win the national title next year.
Mhm. I saw Florida in one, same deal, forget the publication, but that they were at 13. I think based on the way they ended the year, it's reasonable to have them anywhere in the teens. It's appropriate to have them ranked, obviously. But so much of it, especially just from my perspective of being so freshly back, I really want to see what it looks like in spring camp at least, uh, before I would throw that out there. As for Texas, sure, I get it. There's a lot of talent going to the NFL and a lot of faith, maybe reasonably so, in Arch Manning to keep the team where it's been at. He's played, I don't think we necessarily have seen enough from him paired with knowing their losses to assume that this is the #1 team in the nation. But I don't know. I guess I could be wrong there, and I understand the hype for him as well.
In your conversation with Billy, did anything come up? Because a lot of people on my show and up to today, they're always complaining that the Gators move too slow in the portal, making decisions, things of that nature. Did that come up in your conversation with Billy at all?
Very specifically, yeah. We when we talked to him about the co-defensive coordinator in front office, his last line in that very specific question was, "We probably move a little slower than people want us to."
Yeah. I mean, look, I will say this. I feel like he's done a really good job, he and the staff, adding really good players in the portal. I mean,
Hmm,
when you look at the guys that have made a difference the last couple of years, it's been portal guys, quite
right.
honestly. I mean, 3 receivers in the last 2 years were phenomenal. Um, Montreal comes in and was really stable at the running back position. And obviously, some of our young guys have taken over there now, but
Hmm,
I don't know. Everybody can look at it different ways. Nobody's ever going to be happy, I guess. Um,
right. Exactly.
um, Mike wants to know on Facebook Live, what does our O-line depth look like for 2026? Actually, be
Well, I think
2025.
at a
2025.
minimum, aside from the depth, I think it's really top heavy based on the players that they bring back. Um, and when you get into the depth, there's still some experience there in terms of, Roger Kearney being a 3-year player at that point, right? Even though maybe he ends up starting, but based on the way the line is set up, I would think that he's still in a reserve role at this time. But you can say that about several players across the board. And I know they're excited about some of these year 2 jumps, like a Fletcher Westfall, for example, at tackle. And maybe he ends up competing at right tackle with some of the other players they have there. Because for the starting positions, I see it as left tackle to right guard should be the same, right? It should be the same 4 players. Replacing Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, you might have like a 3 or 4-way competition over there. Devin Manuel, obviously experienced former transfer. Cameron Waits is a player that they've tried to start several times and have been pleased with his development over the years. Caden Jones was a prospect they really liked from the 2022 or 3 recruiting class, and he had formerly been either committed or a priority target of Napier and Sales at Louisiana, so a lot of familiarity there. And then Westfall, he was the highest rated offensive lineman they brought in last year. He might be even the highest rated offensive lineman, left tackle or tackle overall, I should say, that they brought in their time here. So there's a lot of excitement about the possibilities they have there. Who's going to win that job? Another question.
Yeah. Zach, appreciate your time, my friend. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter since you're one of our new guests. And if y'all have any specials going on at 24/7 Sports.
Sure thing. Thanks so much, Shane. I really appreciate joining you here. I'm over on Twitter at Zach_Goodall, spelled ZACH, and all of my work now can be found over at Swamp 247 Sports. I think that's the first time I've plugged it on air like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll have you on again. And good luck in the new gig, and appreciate you taking the time, my friend.
Thank you, Shane.
All right, that's Zach Goodall from 24/7 Sports, who covers the Gators with our good friend Graham Hall and Blake Alderman and that crew. Miapa Latin Cafe, discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua. You're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. Appreciate everybody chiming in today. Have a great day. If you're in the Panhandle, stay warm, folks. Take care.